to survive just like we need them. So if we're going to have a symbiotic relationship, we got to reestablish the terms in which that symbiosis is functional for both parties. Because right now, the symbiotic relationship is parasitic. So that was Donald DeFree's position.
Okay.
Right? And he was a hell of a leader, as you can see, because didn't nobody fold up shop. They fought to the end. Go ahead, push play.
They fought to the end on that joint.
Sent to the public to Randolph first. Also, Nancy Ling Perry, a former college cheerleader.
Learning through middle pillar training, etc. Right? So, in this game of life, we're going to call it the game. The game is called life. You have real money and fake money. You have real people and fake people. You got day-to-day struggles and you got easy days, right? It's all consistent with the laws of nature. Once you understand the laws of nature, the game of life is not as complicated as we've been led to believe to make us to remain in a perpetual state of misery, right? So, in this game called life, it's a chess game. And the chess game is played against an opponent. You got a good guy, the God seat, and the bad guy is the devil seat. And then you have life playing out in a real life chessboard in day-to-day individuals' lives. And it's an energy game when played outside of the 3-dimension. There's certain stuff that you are allowed when you play in a game. You got to play it a certain way. The reason why we kept losing in the game is, for one, we didn't have anybody playing, so all of our pieces was on the board idle. A few pieces was moving, but the majority of the board was idle. Worship. Idle worship means to worship like your car sitting there running. The active worship is the ones playing in the game, right? Now, you got people that's selling you snake oils like karmic debt cleanses or nationality cards or offering birth certificates and social security cards. These are what you call the great adversaries. Why are they the adversaries? They're the devil. The devil mean the enemy. Adversary mean opponent. The goal of the game was who can figure out who is legitimate, the ones with the papers or the ones without the papers. And so when they wrote it down in books, they told us who was legitimate and who wasn't, but it was coded. That means that there's a word in here, it's a line over here, it's a paragraph over here, it's the title of a chapter over here. And you have to be perceptive enough to see all of the clues that's being given in the game of life. When you are perceptive enough, you are no longer collecting clues. Now you cash them in. They call that cashing a receipt. Your clues is your breadcrumbs that lead you down the path. Every religion and every form of education that is required for the filling out of papers is making your allegiance to the one that we call the devil. Now you got to remember, devil don't mean no spooky shit. It just means the enemy, the adversary, the opponent, the one who's playing from the other side of the table. It's a gentleman's game, but you got to be a mastermind to play. In order to be a mastermind, you need a lot of seclusion because it's a board game. So you got to be bored to play it. And in the boredom, they say idle mind is the devil's workshop. Well, the only reason that would be is because that's the only place to confront your own personal devil, right? She said she did her sacrament before match. That don't got nothing to do with nothing. Look, this game that we've been tricked into, We've been playing this game under duress and by deception. As soon as we figured it out, it was easy to overcome then, because then we knew that the controlling position on the board is called the position of right. And from the position of right, the most powerful weapon is some stuff called the truth. Now, motherfuckers don't want to hear the truth. Motherfuckers always say they don't want to be lied to, but as soon as you tell them the truth, they have a bigger breakdown than the motherfucker that lied to them. They don't give him the same reaction they give you for telling them the truth. Right? So we don't know what the hell these people got us believing, because this shit's some bullshit. Right? Give me a minute, Greg. I want to go over some of this information and then I'll pull you in. All right. So the only way to win the game is you got to bump straight all the way across the galactic board or across the chessboard. Right? But bumping straight don't always mean move straight, because all pieces don't move in a straight line. Pawns only move forward. But in fifth dimensional chess, they move forward on the ground, but they also move forward across the sky. Right? So every move down here is a move up here. Also, the knights move in the L position. But the knight don't stay in the L. Right? Because every 3 moves is a lightning strike. And then at the end of each lightning strike, it tears something up. All right, so now you got bishops that move at a diagonal angle, right? Then you have your rooks. They move side to side, front and back, as in your L rookins, as in Angel Bay. So then you have what you call your royal court, consists of a king, a prince, and a decoy. A king, a prince, and then a decoy, right? So somewhere in there is the king and the prince and the decoy. Now, the prince sometimes come in pairs, where you will have a red prince and a blue prince. But remember, they all got on the same red and blue on both sides of the board, except on one side of the board, the chess pieces are white, and on the other side, the chess pieces are black. Then you put red and blue coats on the white side and red and blue coats on the black side. And then those who are the antagonists, the attacker, the white side, they attack. Now, their artificial superior position is termed white supremacy, because the attacker seems to have the advantage by the sheer fact that they initiated the attack. Now, you have to learn the rules of the game by learning the stratagems of war from as many different types of military-minded generals you can study. Now you get the game from a military perspective. Then you start to study the economics, because you also have to understand that the monopoly money they're using is so that they can steal the real money they hide. But as long as you believe that the monopoly money is real, you're not paying attention to the money that they're stealing, that they hide. Right? Now, their fiat currency, which is monopoly money, it's not backed up by gold standard. Right? It's backed up by something called GDP, gross domestic product, or GNP, gross national product. But this is really not backing the dollar, right? This is creating a foundational trade between GDP and GNP, gross domestic product and gross national product. When you trade those two, right, you trade gross domestic product internally, and you trade gross national product externally. So you have to set up what you call ports of trade internally, stores, gas stations, etc. Then you have to make allegiances to trade externally, export, import, tariffs. All right. So now, while we following the paper is telling us which direction the players sit. Because if you follow the money, they teach you that in the law. If you study law, you'll know that all of the investigators on the cases say follow the money, you'll find the criminal. So when we follow the money back, we run into the same people, whether it's from the military, whether it's from space exploration, whether it's from stock market, whether it's from international trade markets that you hardly ever hear anything about. And you also have what you call your black market. And the black market make more money than what we call the open market. Why do the black market make more? The black market is all of those things that's forbidden in a community, society, or a system being brought into the system at a inflated price due to the demand that's placed on the minimum product. So black market going to always generate more financial return than open market. The thing about black market is if you get caught in the black market in the wrong place, they're going to treat you like you belong on the black market. They might chop your ass up and sell you in parts. That's right. Free Larry Hoover, free the chairman. Okay, so once you understand what the game is, you got players that is not supposed to be touched, right? As in put to death. These are called untouchables on the fifth dimensional galactic chessboard, and they directly tie back to the royal house, either on the black side or the white side. If they tie back to the royal house on the white side, enemy side, invader side, we can capture them and make them pay for their dirt. If they get caught, they can accuse us of whatever they want to accuse us for, as long as they get both the black pieces and the white pieces to perpetuate the accusation. Then the accusation becomes the perpetual tool of holding the royals out of position. This is also called a grand conjure game, which is a series of voodoo conjures going on in a system of what they call spiritual knocking. So when you hear me be saying, I got a knock, this a master knock, gorilla knock, it's a term from early American spiritualism, where they called it rapping and tapping, right? They called it knocking, and some people called it thumping and bumping, right? But they all mean something different, right? There's different forms of initiation according to the clan that you're being initiated into, right? Some clans, they got to know that you can get down and get dirty with the best of them or the worst of them. That you a stand-up motherfucker, whether you fighting against a good motherfucker or a bad motherfucker, you bump straight, right? So this is how they determine you, who you are on the chessboard, and if you are actually in the game, and they take a lot of people out the game. So now, from this position, we start applying this into what we are perceiving in our 3D world around us. The game being played. There's only two positions in the game. The ones that know the game being played and the ones that don't, right? Then you have the ones that know the game is being played that dissent with the entirety of the game, right? They call them the po-righteous teachers, the 5%ers. They don't agree with the game, the bullshit that come with the game, the people that's putting the game together. They don't want no parts of the game, and they want to tell as many people about the fraud tied to the game and how we can get out of the game. All we have to do is be aware that the overriding rule of the game is be in the position of right, tell the truth, and expose the devil. And this is what we've been doing, right? So when you've seen me expose Isis Wisdom, right? I don't have no personal knowledge of that individual, but she did something that told me she works for our enemy, our sworn enemy, right? And because she done that, I had to expose her, drag all her shit out. But Big Mama made me wait until her people complained to me in a sufficient enough number to address the grievance. So from the time she told me King Hoover was dead and I knew it was some bullshit when she blew it out her mouth to the time that I finally told the people what was going on, I was watching her, letting her people tell me the dirt she was doing, right? I wasn't saying nothing. I been knew. She been told me that shit. A whole month go by. Big Mama said, "Now drag her out." Why did she say wait that month? Because she needed the accumulation of information to be so overwhelming that even the motherfuckers that believe that shit wholeheartedly can see the truth with their own eyes, even if they reject it. Right? So it had nothing to do with my personal feelings. I didn't have no feelings one way or another about none of them motherfuckers. I don't agree with the game, so I decided to end the game. This is how you end the game. The gig is fucking up, right? So they came in from the white supremacy perspective. That means they launched an attack. But they were what you call Europe's black nobility, conquistadors, who came in the South first from Spain under Christopher Columbus. We sat here not participating in their game, so they went and brought their own servants that we call $5 Dawes Rose Indian to contract with them while they play the game with us without our consent. Now, because we won't play the game, they have to force us into the game, whether we want to be or we don't want to be, right? The game is a conjure. It's a voodoo game. If you don't do voodoo, you're not going to ever win the game. It's a voodoo game, right? So when they came over here to challenge the conjure war by playing this fifth dimensional game of chess, our people laid out before us, and it's only two places and two positions at the end of the day, winner and loser, right? So no matter how long it looked like they winning, no matter how much of an upper hand it looked like they getting, they're not going to never win against the original people of this land. Now, when they used what we call a cat's paw, they used pale faces to close institutions so we could never figure out the game they was playing. Because they used pale faces to close institutions and we couldn't get any other information to us in the field, on the boots on the ground, the grassroots level, it needs to be in the public domain. We need to put the message out into the public so that even the ones not playing the game will matriculate into the mastery of the game just by its very nature of being a rites of passage practice for royal families in antiquity, specifically Atlantis and Lemuria. And they believe that nobody from the blood on the land would ever challenge their position of wrong and their medium of falsehood to execute their plan. Their goal was to make the good look bad while the bad do the dirt. Accuse the good of doing everything the bad is really doing while the bad doing it, because the people have enough gut instinct to know that the dirt being done. They just don't have the mental acumen to determine who's doing the dirt. So in the Quran, it said we will make evil fair seeming. Well, what do we mean by that? They mean that all of the dirt they doing, it'll be done under the pretense of the fairness in the game. It only appears fair on the cover. But once you pull the cover off of it, then you can understand that the game was never fair to begin with, and it was designed for you to lose at every turn if you play the game. But if you don't play the game, it will come a time where you can see who's playing the game and who's in the game, who's not in the game, who's been duped, and who are the active participants in this game called life, right? In the process of this, we discovered that the white man ain't white. So why do we have pale faces barring his institutions? Because he looked like us. he know that as long as he keep pale faces up there, we can't get in to get the keys or the map to the game. We can never figure out what the game is because they got pale faces closing institutions to dark faces. While in the background, they teach all of this shit that the pale faces learn and more to theirs in what they call black academia. So they started to create some shit called HBCUs, historical black colleges and universities. And then they started to educate theirs and then disenfranchise ours by socioeconomics, geography. They don't need to know your skin color, right? They just need to know the stronghold for our people. The strongholds for our people has always been these metropolises they call big cities, concrete jungles, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Houston, Dallas, Washington, Portland, Boise, Des Moines, all these big cities.